I want to address some of the generic sales advice that there is out there, specifically for manufacturers, Chinese manufacturers, in fact. And the sales advice goes you just need to identify potential buyer pain points, present yourself as a viable solution, and lo and behold, new business will magically appear in front of your eyes just like that. And for me, this is incredibly simplistic advice. It really ignores the reality of the situation. So, my background, just in case anybody isn't aware, I used to run many years ago my own trading business out of Hong Kong. I did that for around about 12 years. We started from nothing. I had a small team of people around me. We traded stainless steel kitchenware items. And eventually, over a period of years, we built up a range of around about 400 products. We were selling in all the major markets around the world and a lot of the smaller markets as well. So I completely understand how you can be standing in a booth and trying to sell. You might not necessarily be in a booth, in fact. You have a buyer, potential buyer in front of you. How do you go about trying to convert that particular buyer into into a paying customer? That is the that is the challenge. That is always the challenge. And in terms of, the generic advice, we have to identify buyer pain points. Well, lo and behold, I can tell you this is no great mystery to me or anybody else. I can tell you straight away exactly what those pain points will be. So, for example, they will have problems with delivery. They will have problems with quality. They will have problems with consistency. They will have problems with communication, and I can go on and on and on, all to a greater or lesser degree. So, what do you do? So you already know that those are the pain points. There may be one or two more. You already know what the pain points are. What do you do? Do you say to the buyer what they expect you to say? Oh, you can provide a lower price. You have a slightly better quality. Your team communicates at a much more advanced level. And so it goes on and on and on. So you effectively know what the pain points are. You make promises to the buyer to try to win the buyer over. But buyers are incredibly experienced. They've heard all of this before. And it all comes down to it's not a question of presenting yourself perfectly. Anybody can do that and anybody can be trained to do that. I fundamentally believe that. What is the main issue at stake here? Well, the main issue for me is trust. So yes, we know exactly what the buyer pain points are, we know exactly how to present ourselves. But still, why should that buyer trust you? Why should they trust you? And if you want to be a successful salesperson, specifically in English, you have to put yourself into the buyer's shoes. You have to see the world through the buyer's eyes. The majority of buyers have already got an established supply chain. A supply chain, it might not be perfect, but they know what they're going to get. If they switch suppliers, it is an incredible risk for them. What happens if it doesn't work out? If the order there is a problem with the quality, for example, there is a problem with the delivery, and despite the fact that you make the assurances that you make, they still have to trust you enough to be able to place an order with you. How do you manage to get them to do that? I think the other thing is that people fail to consider is that buyers themselves are under a tremendous amount of pressure. And I've seen this a lot in much larger companies, whereby you forget that the buyers are actually accountable for their actions, for their decisions. So if they buy a product from you that fails, they are accountable for that. They have to account to their bosses. A lot of the times, you may be working you may be working with a junior buyer, and the turnover rate in that particular job can be quite high. I've seen buyers change in companies on an annual basis. They are under a lot of pressure. So if I'm in their position, if I'm in their job, why should I trust you? It's very, very risky for me to trust you. I know if I continue with my current supplier, I know exactly what I'm going to get. It's not perfect, but I know what I'm going to get. If I take you on board, there is a very real possibility that you'll let me down. And if you do let me down, it's my neck that's on the line. So, what was my approach? Well, the very first thing they have to do is reduce the risk for the buyer. So, the buyer doesn't really feel, if it doesn't work out, then they don't really lose very much. Their reputation is still intact. They've probably still got the relationship with their older supplier anyway. And my approach was always you've got to be able to reduce the minimum quantities, you've got to be able to offer test orders. Your communication obviously has to be flawless, that goes without saying. And you need to be responsive. And probably one of the biggest mindset shifts for me was that you can't just think to yourself, great, I've won an order, fantastic, and just like think that you've won the lottery or something. It's not like that. You've got to think to yourself, okay, I've got an order, great. But what you've really done is you've won an opportunity. And if you can view it like that, it's just an opportunity. It's just the start of the business relationship. And if you can actually follow that all the way through, if you can provide a good service for that customer and you come good on all of your promises, then they will expand the order quantities with you later. They'll expand the range with you later. And your business with them will grow over a period of months, over a period of years. It's not just a short term, one order, move on to the next order. It's an opportunity to grow your business in the future. And a lot of the time with the manufacturing in China, the deliveries can be anything from 30 and in some cases up to 90 days and beyond. So you really must feed back to that customer on a regular basis from the moment the order goes onto the production line till the moment it is shipped and goes off into your customer's warehouse. There's various different touch points throughout the whole of the order process where you have got a golden opportunity to communicate with that customer. And the more you communicate with a customer, keep them updated, the more you're going to win trust with that customer, the more they are going to naturally think about repeating the order with you, growing the business with you, and essentially solidifying you as a supplier. So, my advice would be don't just think about sales as using English in a clever way to try to win an order. You need to make it so easy that the customer thinks to themselves, oh, the risk is really minimal here. I'm just going to go ahead and place an order. And then once you've got that golden opportunity, you really need to come good on it so that you'll have every opportunity to grow and develop your business going forward. And I can absolutely assure you that that's what worked for me. It always worked for me and it can work for you as well. But you have to give it time and you have to move beyond the idea that one order is a win. It's just the start.